Hi, I'm Max Walker&Williams, and today we are going to be looking at what Michael Saylor and other Bitcoin maxis too, I'm not just picking on Michael, won't tell you about Bitcoin. If you are doing your due diligence, and I hope you are, before you invest in Bitcoin, then hopefully this can be a part of your due diligence and just show you another side to Bitcoin and some information and facts, not my opinion, but facts that you should consider before putting all of your money, for example, into Bitcoin. Obviously, every investment you make is personal to you, and how much money you're willing to risk and lose is completely your choice. But I think it's important to get both sides of the coin so you know the risks when you're going into investing. As always, thanks ever so much for watching my content. If you do enjoy this video, please give it a like, and perhaps I could ask a special favor on just this one video. It would be so amazing to get Michael Saylor's attention because I'm really up for a debate, you know, a well-intentioned, well-meaning debate. And I hope that I get the opportunity to meet Michael one day, perhaps, or talk to him, and he can prove me wrong and educate me and teach me all of the things that I've misunderstood about this video and all of the content and why I'm wrong. Because I'd love to be proved wrong and be told that actually, you know, in fact, Bitcoin wasn't hacked in 2018, 2017, 2016, 2015, and 2014, for example. So I'd love to be wrong about that, and I'd love Michael to explain to me why I'm wrong. And I genuinely mean that. So special request on this video, if you could copy the link of this video, so the address of this video in Google's, and then just jump over to Twitter, and then at Saylor, S-A-Y-L-O-R is Michael's Twitter handle. Maybe you could tweet him this video, and if he sees it, who knows, maybe he'll ask me to have a debate with him. Okay. So jumping straight into it, important. I believe that we should support each other. I've made a video about this previously, the future of cryptocurrency, and I'll put a link to that video in the description below. And I really mean that. What's good for the industry is good for everybody, and what isn't good for the industry is bad for everybody, generally speaking. So it's important, and not just in crypto, but in life, to support each other. It does the industry no good when tribalism means each project is trying to pull the others down. I always think it's awful. Solana recently, you know, has had some serious network problems, and rather than sort of trying to be supportive or neutral or say nothing, loads of people were being quite cruel and mean and jumping on it. And it's really unfair because something they might not have considered is that there's people building projects on Solana who are really decent, good people. I actually happen to be really good friends with one particular project that's building on Solana. They've got their life's work, their life savings, their hopes, their dreams, their children's futures, you know, their children's future education money, and everything invested in a project that's built on Solana. So when Solana goes down and people are going, Solana, blah, 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 and giving them loads of abuse on Twitter, they're probably not considering the humans behind that. So I think it's genuinely, I mean that. It doesn't do the industry any good. It's just not great to be like that. So this video is a little bit different to something that I normally do, but I just wanted to point that out, that I really think that tribalism isn't healthy. I would never call someone out who I don't believe could take it and or isn't in the public domain. So if somebody is saying something that I deem to be dangerous for other people or whatever, I'm not going to call them out. Not that I'm calling Michael Saylor out. I'm just saying I would never, you know, use their name, their personal name, if they weren't on the news every 2 minutes in the public domain with literally millions of followers. If they weren't in the public domain, you know, then that's their choice, and I wouldn't drag them into that. Or if I thought they couldn't take it, then I wouldn't have done that, obviously. But clearly Michael Saylor can take this video if he even ever sees it, which he won't. Michael Saylor is far more successful than I am by almost every measure. I think the only measure, I've never seen his wife. I'm not commenting on his wife because that's personal. But Big Boss, my wife, is absolutely stunning. So I'd be amazed if he's done better in that department. But apart from that, putting that aside, putting Big Boss aside, because to find a woman that beautiful who's got such bad taste in men is very rare. So Michael Saylor is far more successful by almost every measure. He's worth circa $1.5 billion. He has over 40 patents in his name. He has 2 degrees that I know of, both of them from MIT, in aerospace engineering and the history of science. I didn't even finish university. I don't have anywhere near. He has more billions than I have millions in cash. I have no patents and so on and so forth. So in pretty much every measure, he's far more successful than me. So that's nothing to point out. So I'm sure he can take it. Okay, that all said, there is something I don't understand. This guy is clearly not an idiot. He's clearly a very intelligent man. He's self-made. He's a brilliant person, he's a brilliant business person, he's a brilliant investor, and so on and so forth. Clearly, otherwise he wouldn't be where he is in life. But it kind of makes things worse, because if he was an idiot, you could forgive him for saying some of the things he says, but he's actually a genius. And when I read some of these tweets, I think they're going to shock you, regardless of how you feel about me, him, crypto, whatever. They're unfair tweets, I think, on people, because there are a lot of people on Twitter who are impressionable, who see something and who watch the news, see a guy talking, who see or hear of his success and think, yeah, I'm going to follow that. And I can prove that some of the stuff he said is actually categorically black and white, binary, not true. He said something about Bitcoin that is factually incorrect. And we'll get into that in a minute. At the same time, people with influence owe a duty of care to those who follow them. The guy has 2.5 million followers on Twitter and often talks literal nonsense. No balance, no warning. I'm sure some people will have put their life savings and entire futures into Bitcoin on Michael Say So, not realizing the very real risks. So if you don't do any other research and you follow Michael, or you've seen him on the news, or you follow him on Twitter, or both, or whatever, if you say, here's a guy with 40 plus patents, degrees from MIT, mega successful, top 0.1% of 1%, the top echelons of success in the context of this conversation, wealth, business, and so on. And he's saying, you cannot go wrong with Bitcoin. Invest in Bitcoin and you're safe, you're good, you're fine. You don't have to worry about money ever again. And that's simply not true. And I know that he must know that that isn't true. So would actually love to debate him and get to the bottom of why he says some of the stuff he says. And by the way, I've seen him as well throwing his weight around on TV. And the problem is that he goes on CNBC News or whatever. And those guys are incredible professionals, the news reporters, but they're not incredible crypto investors. They're not, for the most part, incredible business investors or business people. They are employees of a news channel, and they do their job incredibly well. They're at the top of their game. They're news anchors, but their job is to read things off a piece of paper to people at home. They are not experts in their field. So they invite Michael on. They ask him, why is Bitcoin so amazing? And then they just let him rant on for 5 minutes about why Bitcoin's amazing. And they have very little rebuttal. They have no one saying, but hang on a second, that's nonsense. I'll give you one example. I saw Michael on the news, and he was arguing with a guy who's all for gold. He was all about gold and silver, and he was saying they're the best investment in the world, and blah 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 blah. And this news channel had obviously brought on this gold guy who is dead against crypto, and this crypto guy who believes it's the best thing in the world to sort of see sparks fly. But the gold and silver guy, he didn't talk back. There was no sparks flying. He just took it. So one of the things that Michael said was, gold is far more abundant than Bitcoin. There's only 21 million Bitcoins, and there only has ever been 21 million Bitcoins. Not true. And there only ever will be 21 million Bitcoins. Potentially not true. And gold, yes, at the moment, there is a limited amount of gold, although they keep finding more, fair. But there's a limited amount of gold on the Earth. But what if a meteor hits the planet, or we come up with a technology that means we can go to the meteors, and then there are meteors out there with unlimited gold, or as much gold on them as makes it unlimited, and silver and platinum and so on and so forth. But that's just nonsense. Because I'd say to him, okay, hang on a minute, just think logically. So what you're saying, Michael, is gold, this particular argument that you're making is that gold isn't as good an investment as Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's limited to 21 million coins, always has been, always will be. And we might get hit by a meteor or discover the technology that means we could land on a meteor, mine it, and get back to Earth safely. And therefore, there's a risk that the gold supply hasn't got a hard cap on it and it could become. But think about what you're saying. What are the mathematical odds of a meteor hitting the Earth that one has gold in it? So that's rare. I don't know how many meteors there are and how many of those meteors have gold in them, but I guess it's not all of them. So that would be rare. Then the meteor's got to be small enough that when it hits the Earth, it doesn't wipe us out like the dinosaurs, but big enough that it makes a difference with the gold supply and that the gold doesn't melt or burn up in the stratosphere. What are the odds of that happening versus somebody hacking Bitcoin? Well, it's clear from history, we've been hit by one meteor that made a difference, wiped out the dinosaurs, and Bitcoin's been hacked 3 times that people know of in the last 5 years. So the odds are that the hard cap on Bitcoin is more volatile than the hard cap on gold, clearly. And technology, really, we're gonna fly out to a meteor that's close enough to Earth that we can get to it. Then it's moving at a magnitude of speed. We're gonna land on it, mine it successfully, and then bring it back. And in doing so, we're going to devalue the price of gold that we mined in the first place. So we've spent millions and trillions and billions of dollars on getting to this meteor, to land on it, to get all this gold, to bring it back to Earth, just to have the price go to naught because we brought back so much gold. It's just, but the guy didn't say anything. They were all just nodding, and the news guy's going, yeah, it's a fair point. So, well, it's not a fair point. It's nonsense. Before we get on and move on any further, it's quite important that I put this in context. So I'm going to read, and I haven't cherry picked these, I promise you. You can go to Twitter, go to @SAYLOR, have a look for yourself. The guy doesn't stop, so have a look for yourself. He will have tweeted 10 times today already about how fantastic Bitcoin is. I literally have just picked some at random, and then some decent ones, to be fair, but honestly, you could pretty much pick anything you want, the guy says, because he's so biased. There are a million ways to invest your money, but just one way to save your money. #Bitcoin. But Bitcoin in the last year has gone from $60,000 to $30,000. So inflation, currently as we sit right now, inflation's at about 12% in the UK in real terms, and Bitcoin's halved. So that's 50%. So you can buy less stuff now, 50% less stuff now with Bitcoin that you bought at $60,000 than you can today at $25,000. So that in and of itself, I mean, that's a bit unfair because if Bitcoin goes up again tomorrow, then we're fine. But if you need to spend money right now today, then what he said is not true. If you'd be better off in fiat, in fact. Money is performing better than Bitcoin in the last 365 days. Okay, another tweet of Michael's. Prudent institutional investors should only consider trusting a crypto asset network after it has operated reliably for at least 10 years without a hard fork. #Bitcoin. So Bitcoin hard forked in 2015, which was 8 years ago, with the XT hard fork. By the way, XT Bitcoin then died, so it's died, it no longer exists. Bitcoin hard forked in 2016, which was 6 years ago, with Bitcoin Classic. It hard forked with Bitcoin Unlimited again in 2016, and that's pretty much failed. It's still around, but it's not worth anything. Bitcoin Cash, you might have heard of that one. Bitcoin Cash, that was a bit more successful. That was a hard fork only 5 years ago in 2017. Bitcoin Gold, I don't know if you've heard of that one. Bitcoin Gold is another hard fork, again in 2017, only 5 years ago. And then Bitcoin Satoshi's Vision was a hard fork in 2018, which was only 4 years ago. So you have, there's no way Michael doesn't know this. So Michael is tweeting, institutional investors should only invest in and back a crypto asset that hasn't had a hard fork and is reliable for 10 years. Bitcoin's hard forked 2014, 2016, 2016 again, 2017, 2017 again, and 2018. So you can Google it. Google Bitcoin hard forks. So I genuinely read the tweet and I'm like, what are you talking about? And then, 390 comments. Yeah, Michael, you tell him, oh my God, I can't believe Bitcoin's so stable, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, is this for real? And some of the reasons, and we're going to get to them in a minute, the reasons for the hard forks, it's like scary stuff. Like if your pension is in Bitcoin, you need to know this stuff. And it's just so disingenuous that Michael would say, that he would imply that Bitcoin, he hasn't said, by the way, Bitcoin's never had a hard fork. He just said that you should invest in a crypto asset. He's actually telling you not to invest in Bitcoin in that tweet, if you think about it. Because he's saying, let's assume that he knows, he does. He knows that Bitcoin's hard forked, that many times in the last 10 years. And the last time was only 5 years ago. And he's saying you should definitely only invest in an asset, in a crypto asset that hasn't had a hard fork in 10 years. #Bitcoin. You could read that as he's actually saying don't invest in Bitcoin, but there we go. He's not. He's doing the opposite. He's trying to say that you should invest in Bitcoin because it's proved the test of time, when actually the opposite is true. Bitcoin mining is the cleanest, most efficient, most valuable use of energy in the entire state of New York, and yet politicians want to limit its growth and drive the industry elsewhere. Bitcoin mining is the cleanest and most efficient energy. Let's give Michael the benefit of the doubt and assume that he was talking in the context of crypto. Twitter is difficult because you can only tweet so much in one tweet. And so clearly, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say he doesn't mean life support machines, because I mean, that's a pretty good use of energy. The lights in schools, I mean, that's a pretty decent use of energy. So let's take all of that out of it, and let's just say, let's give Michael the benefit of the doubt and say that when he said that crypto mining is the cleanest, most efficient, most valuable use of energy in the state of New York, Michael must know that even Ethereum is far, far more energy efficient, cleaner, and so on and so forth than Bitcoin. And there must be somebody mining Ethereum in New York. So it's fair to assume that he knows that Ethereum, of all things, don't even get me started on Hedera Hashgraph and blah, blah, blah. Let's assume that somebody's running a node of Hedera Hashgraph. And I've done all these videos. If you've ever watched my videos before, honestly, I'll put a video just comparing a really short, couple of minute long video that I made to Elon Musk about the difference in energy consumption between Bitcoin and Hedera Hashgraph. Now, let's just say that, let's just take the three words: cleanest, most valuable, and most efficient. There's an argument, if you value Bitcoin, and a lot of people do, more than HBAR, which a lot of people do clearly, because, HBAR's a few cents and that's tens and tens of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars. So let's take that word out. And let's take the word value, because that's, everyone's got an opinion and Michael's values it more than that one. So that's fine, okay, fair enough. We'll take that one out. Cleanest? Really? Valuable and efficient, okay, there's an argument to be had there. But cleanest, the cleanest use of energy is mining Bitcoin. Not mining Ethereum, not proof of stake with Polkadot, XDC, not a node running on somebody's mobile phone or a Raspberry Pi, which is a tiny little computer, in the state of New York, because it's fair to assume that somebody will be. No, it's Bitcoin mining. Come on. That's just not, I mean, if somebody, imagine, and the reason this is important is, imagine somebody's really busy and they want to invest in the future, and they want to invest in tech, and they want to put their pension to work, and they want it to match their credentials, their ethos, their personal ethos. And they really, really believe in renewable energy and the environment and global warming and all that stuff. And we're all busy. So in the same way that you haven't got the time to research the most fuel efficient car, perhaps, you buy a Tesla and you go, okay, it's electric. Where are the batteries? How and where are the batteries made? Is it sustainable? I would argue that a lot of Tesla drivers don't actually know. What is the carbon footprint of Tesla? Do you know? Have you ever checked? No, we all work on the assumption that it's an electric car, so therefore it must be good for the environment. And I'm not saying it's not, by the way. I don't know because I've never checked, don't own one, so it doesn't really matter. But my point is, it's all very well and good if you're tech inspired or you're already in the space and you're already investing in crypto. You say, well, they should know. Yeah, but you might say, well, I care about the environment. Well, do you know what your car or how your house was built? So there are people out there who care, but don't have the time to research everything. So they might take, well, Bitcoin is the cleanest, most efficient as gospel, as genuine. Because a man they trust, going back to this, a man with the right credentials, with the right CV, the right credentials, he's said that it's the cleanest, most efficient. So why wouldn't I believe him? But it's not true. And anyone who knows anything about cryptocurrency will say, yeah, the very least I know is that Bitcoin, even a lot of Bitcoin maxis who love Bitcoin admit that it's not the cleanest use of energy in the world. And actually, we think it's fantastic and it's worth doing, but we wouldn't argue. It's embarrassing to try and argue that it's the cleanest use of energy. Okay, so I hope those tweets, I mean, I'm just scratching the surface there. I hope those tweets kind of give you some sort of context to why I had to make this, or I felt I had to make this video. Okay, so let's get into it. What are the risks with Bitcoin? If you're doing your due diligence, hopefully you won't have to scour the internet. I've brought it all into one succinct place for you. Bitcoin was hacked on the 15th of August, to be specific, in 2010. The hacker successfully created 184 billion extra Bitcoins. So when Michael said on that chat show, there have always only been 21 million coins, and there will always only be 21 million coins. There is a hard cap, meaning it can't be changed. There is a hard cap written into the code of Bitcoin that there are only 21 million coins. All there ever will be, all there ever has been, not true. 184 billion extra coins were successfully created with Bitcoin, so 21 million. There was 184 billion created by a hacker, and it's called, if you Google the value overflow incident on Bitcoin, and it comes up. At the time, Bitcoin had only just launched. I think where Bitcoin was concepted by Satoshi Nakamoto in 2009. So he was still about, Satoshi Nakamoto was still around, and hard forked the blockchain to remove the additional coins. Now, I haven't written that particularly well because it gives you the impression at home, if you're not too sure what hard forking is and how it works, gives you the impression, well, okay, it was hacked, fair enough, it's not great, but those coins are gone now. No. So just to explain very, very briefly, a hard fork is where there's a software update, if you like, on the Bitcoin network, and the miners, the people who mine the Bitcoin, can either choose to do the software update or not. If more than 50% of them choose to do the update, then this is the new version of Bitcoin, and it's called a hard fork. So that the blockchain actually forks, and another blockchain is created on the new version of Bitcoin. And that's where Bitcoin Classic, Bitcoin Gold, and so on and so forth. Also Ethereum, and then you have people who build on Ethereum. It's called like a fork of Ethereum. Those are forks of Ethereum. So it's a version of Ethereum called something else with slightly different rules, and they mine that. If less than 51%, so let's say, for example, I say, okay, we're going to change the name of Bitcoin to whatever, YouTubes. So we're going to call it YouTubes. Half the miners, 51% of the miners, or 50% or 60%, whatever, agree that that should be the new name. Then I do a software update, and that's what we all agree it's now called. And there's not 21 million coins, there's 22 million coins for whatever reason. They all start mining that version, and that becomes a crypto in its own right. And the other guys who say, no, we want to keep it Bitcoin, and we want to keep with the 21 million cap, they don't do the software update, they continue mining this version, and so now you have two versions of Bitcoin running side by side. Bitcoin original, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin original, Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin original, Satoshi's vision. So, and that is what hard forking is in a nutshell. So the way the hack was successful, that was it, it's done. The project was over. It was killed before it started. It was hacked and broken before it started. However, Satoshi was still about to do the software update and say, we're going to start another Bitcoin, but it's only going to have 20. We're going to change the software so that hack can't happen again, and we're only going to have 21 million coins like we did in the first version. Except this guy managed to change the rules inside this version and create an extra 184 billion Bitcoins in this version. And because everybody who was invested in the project, of course, agreed almost unanimously that, yeah, we're going to go with this new version. And they did a new version Bitcoin, and that version had the software, a weakness taken out, changed, so it wasn't be able to hack again. And the new rule was only 21 million Bitcoins. So the hacker effectively had his 184 billion Bitcoins, and he does still have his 184 billion Bitcoins, but he's got nobody else to transact with and play with, so the hack is unsuccessful. But it's not great, is it, from an investing point of view? And this is the kind of stuff you need to know. Bitcoin was successfully hacked. If it was done then, who's to say it can't be done again? And it was, and we'll get to that. The blockchain, okay, so we hard forked the blockchain to remove the additional coins. Didn't actually remove them, just put them on a different blockchain. It's the only thing that saved the project from dying before it started. Not so easy now, no Satoshi. A lot of people say he or she has passed away, dead, whatever. There are still people who he entrusted with the network, who work on the network and stuff, but it isn't one-man dictatorship going, right, this is what we're doing, go quickly. Because, by the way, the new chain, the hard fork was done the same day as the hack. So that's how quickly he was able to act. Wouldn't happen as quickly today. Not so easy now, no Satoshi, and more miners. So again, there's more people to vote. So if you have 4 people to win the vote, you only have to have 4 votes. If you have 4,000 votes, you have to convince 4,000 people that this is the right thing to do, to have unanimous, okay? So it's harder to do just by the fact that there's more people. Anything with more is harder, generally speaking. more mines, etc. This is really interesting. The 184,467,434.09551616 Bitcoin are still in block number 74,638 on the original blockchain block. So you can actually have a look at them. You can go, just Google, a blockchain checker or whatever, and you can go and actually see the transactions, see them there. They're just sat in that block. A hacker of Ripple was able to transfer 1,000 Bitcoin from a wallet that only had 0.0001 Bitcoin into another wallet of his. So that was a successful hack. It wasn't actually on the Bitcoin blockchain, it was on Ripple, on the platform, but he managed to trick Ripple into thinking that he had 1,000 Bitcoin in one wallet that he owned, and when he transferred it over, obviously 1,000 actual Bitcoin landed in this wallet, and he managed to hack the network and convince it that he had 1,000 Bitcoin when he only actually had 0.0001 Bitcoin. So another hack that was successful. In 2018, so relatively recently, only 4 years ago, hackers, white hat, found a serious bug in a Bitcoin Core update that could have closed or stopped the entire network with a denial of service attack. So I've explained what a DOS attack is in previous videos. I can't remember which one, so you'd have to watch them all to find out which one, or you can just Google it. There's loads of videos about denial of service attacks, but it's basically when you get loads of little computers to send messages to basically confuse or block a computer. So it's a denial of service by sending loads and loads of messages. In 2018, hackers, now white hat hackers, I don't know if you know the difference. A black hat hacker is somebody who's trying to break something, get into something, steal something for their own personal benefit. A white hat hacker is somebody who tries to do bad things, and if they succeed, fix it. They don't actually action the bad thing. So if a white hat hacker had worked out that you could do this scam with 1,000 Bitcoin, they wouldn't have actually done it. They would have fixed they would have patched it, they would have fixed it. In 2018, so another thing that a lot of people don't seem to understand is that Bitcoin goes through updates, software updates and things, and changes and improvements, supposed to be. But clearly, when you change anything, you risk breaking it or making it weaker or leaving it vulnerable to something. And these updates have to happen. So in 2018, there was a major update, and a white hat hacker, before a black hat hacker managed to see it, found a serious bug in the Bitcoin Core update that could have stopped the entire network, closed it down with a DDoS attack, left it vulnerable to a DDoS attack, and that would have been it. Game over, finished, done. It was only that this chap managed to spot the bug and fix it before it became a problem. That Bitcoin didn't, in 2018, Bitcoin wouldn't have existed. The only thing standing between somebody who's put their entire pension into Bitcoin, because Michael said there's only one way to save money, the only thing standing between them and losing everything in 2018 was one man who spotted a bug. And he's on TV telling people it's the safest thing that's ever been invented for investing your money. At their peak, China-based mining pools accounted for over 80% of all Bitcoin hashing power. At one point in 2021, 2 men owned 88% of all the hashing power of Bitcoin. So the reason that's important is because, for loads of reasons, as you've probably worked out already, if you are having a vote, let's say, for example, I say, okay, I'm suggesting a new rule, which is that Max gets all the Bitcoins. Yes, there are 21 million Bitcoin, but we're going to create, and I don't want to crash the market because I want to make money. I'm going to create another 500 Bitcoins just for Maxi Poos. So now there's going to be 21 million and 500 for Max. I have more than 50% of the vote. Guess where all your Bitcoins that you spent all your money on are going? They're coming with me, because that is where the majority is. This is the foot. I get to do all the vote. I get 88% of the votes. So me and Bob, my best mate, we vote, and 88% of all of the hashing power, all of the mines, go onto the new system. So, and then there's load. You can actually, if you get over, it's called a 51% attack. I think I'll get to that later. If you have over 51% of the vote, you can actually change the order, because the majority say that it didn't happen like that. Even though it did happen like that, we can change the order the transactions take place, which makes the whole system defunct. So Michael is telling people on Twitter right now to put your life savings in the safest thing on earth, which is Bitcoin. And in 2021, just 1 year ago, 88% of all the hashing power of Bitcoin was owned by 2 Chinese men. Today, Poolin, F2Pool, BTC.com and Antpool alone could ruin Bitcoin. And then I put Chinese government, 51% attack, double spending, order of transactions, votes, etc. So basically, so right now today, as I'm creating this video, Poolin, F2Pool, BTC.com and Antpool, they're all Chinese companies, and the reason that's important is because they're all in the same place. So it's not like saying, yeah, but one of them's Italian and one of them's German. They don't speak the language and they don't particularly like each other. I'm not saying they don't, but whatever. One of them's Ukrainian and one of them's Russian. They really don't like each other at the moment, so there's no chance of them colluding, or it's very unlikely that they're going to collude. These guys are all Chinese. And what do we know about China? Government-run state. So what about the Chinese government? So people are saying, oh yeah, but these private companies, what's in it for them? Why would they ruin Bitcoin when they have so much money in Bitcoin? Yeah, well, what if it's not them? What if it's the Chinese government? And what if the Chinese government approached these people? And I'm saying what if, they already might have. Who knows? They don't even produce how many COVID deaths they've had, let alone what they're doing behind the scenes with Bitcoin mining. So you've got more than 51% of Bitcoin hashing power right now in control in China. And for all Michael knows, and for all I know, the Chinese government have already, or maybe these companies were set up by the Chinese government and they already control these companies. And at any point they like, the Chinese government could say, slip this transaction in. Oh really, Michael, we're going to do voting on Bitcoin? What did he say? 75% of, he tweeted this morning before I went live on this video and I was laughing. He was saying 75% of all retail is going to accept Bitcoin. Really? Okay. Chinese government, 51% attack. I've explained that. Order of transactions, votes, etc. It gets even worse. Oh, and by the way, if you think, Max, you've gone a bit big and your tinfoil hat, you're crazy, get this. If you want to know what kind of people these are, next point. Bitmain is the world's largest BTC mining hardware manufacturer with 70% market share. You can fact check anything I'm saying today, by the way, and please do. Leave it in the comments below. Bitmain is the world's largest BTC Bitcoin mining hardware manufacturer. They make the physical machines to mine Bitcoin with 70% of the market share. Bitmain also own Antpool. So one of the largest hashing companies in the world also is owned by Bitmain, who are the largest manufacturer of the components in the world. 10% of all hash power is Antpool alone. That's a massive conflict of interest. So the people who are deciding how the transaction of money and everything else and transactions of record and value, what order that goes in, are also the people who are the largest manufacturer of the equipment for everybody else. So that's a problem because not only do they have 10% of all the votes anyway, they make 70% of the machines that are being used for the other votes. What does that mean? Well, Max, they wouldn't abuse their power. Why would they? They risk ruining the value of Bitcoin. In 2017, it was accidentally discovered by a customer of Bitmain that Bitmain had built a backdoor into all of the mining rigs they sold. I'll say it again. In 2017, it was accidentally discovered by a Bitmain customer that Bitmain had built a backdoor into all of the mining rigs they sold. When you plug the mining rig into the internet, you put an Ethernet cable into it or you connect it via the Wi-Fi, and then it starts mining and it starts hashing, okay? Every 1 to 11 seconds, the mining rig sends a message to the Bitmain company. Because don't forget, if it's mining, it's got to be online. Otherwise it doesn't work, so it's got to be online. When it was online, without me telling it to, without me knowing it was doing it, every 1 to 11 seconds it was sending a message back to a database, Bitmain, saying, this is my serial number, this is my IP address, which gives my physical location. So Bitmain knew exactly who I am. My name's Max and I'm a customer of yours and I bought serial number 1234. Then I'd plug it in at home, blah, 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 and it would say, hi, it's 1234 here. I'm at 116 Duke Street, Liverpool, Lima 1, 5 Juliet Whiskey. And then I would cross-reference that against me and say, oh, that's Max's machine. So Max's machine is in Liverpool on Duke Street, it's plugged in and that. And they were doing that without telling their customers. Then, worse still, Bitmain's computer had to send a message back saying, okay, if it didn't, the machine stopped mining. So at any point in time, Bitmain could and still can, if you haven't updated your hardware, press a button and turn everybody else's machines off. So while Michael is tweeting, Bitcoin is the safest investment in the world and the only place to securely store your money, the biggest manufacturer of the hashing machines that create and facilitate this entire project are sending secret messages to the Chinese manufacturer, who equates for 70% of the market, saying, this is where I am, this is what I'm doing, this is who I work for, am I okay to continue? Yes. Every 1 to 11 seconds, yes, yes. All Bitmain had to do to turn all of the machines off is press a button, stop, and they would have done. They say they apologized, they said it was an accident or a mistake or whatever, there was some nonsense excuse. You know, we accidentally installed this program, had it running fantastically. We accidentally tested it. It accidentally worked perfectly. And we accidentally sent a message out knowingly every 1 to 11 seconds for years, accidentally. So they did this by accident. What else are they doing that we don't know about? If they were doing this, what else? Well, bearing in mind, this is the safest net. I mean, it's just ridiculous. This guy's got, I tell you what's not a joke, and I'm laughing. And the reason I'm getting frustrated and angry, this guy speaks to 2.5 million people on Twitter, just on Twitter. He's on CNN News regularly, and nobody questions it. A study by Professor Saylor found that, this is a direct quote, Bitcoin and Ethereum are incredibly centralized. And then he goes on to explain in great detail, and I don't want to bore you or double cross. Have a look, Google it. You can see it for yourself. I'm not twisting facts. I'm not cherry picking either. It's just the whole middle bit of this is basically what I'm saying. In fact, both networks are controlled by only 20 entities in the world. Not just Bitcoin and Ethereum. And this report, by the way, I haven't put the date up. It was really recent. I promise you, Google it. It was really recent. In fact, I'll put a link to it in the description below. The whole of the Ethereum network and the whole of the Bitcoin network are controlled. I mean, yeah, of course, there's, I've got an Ethereum, a very, very small Ethereum mine, 2 or 3 machines. It's run off a solar panel. And so, yeah, okay, of course, there'll be a few sort of minor machines. But what he's saying is, in general, the control is centralized. The whole of the Ethereum network, the whole of the Bitcoin network is controlled today by only 20 entities in the world. Oh, and by the way, if you're thinking, I've put this point up. I'm not looking to I don't want to get distracted by Ethereum right now, but I want to make a point because again, tinfoil hat. I'm thinking maybe you think I'm nuts. 51% attack max. Come on, how realistic is that? Ethereum Classic is the non-fork after a denial of service attack on Ethereum in 2016. White hat hackers were warning as early as 2014 that for as little as $2,300 in electric, a hacker could take control of the entire network, get 51% of the network, and then obviously vote for themselves. It happened, and $1 million was stolen. So Ethereum Classic. So when that happened, there was a massive argument in the Ethereum network, which was this. The whole point of cryptocurrency is that it takes away power from the few and gives it to the people. That there should be no one person in charge, and anything that happens, it should be like nature. Lambs get killed by lions. It's just nature. Nobody's running around trying to stop predator animals, kill small animals. Cryptocurrency should just be nature's way, okay? Whatever happens, happens. Survival of the fittest and so on and so forth, and it should just be free reign. This is the multicolored mohawk's dream, it's just not anarchy, but as close to anarchy as you can get, which is just like there's no one in charge, okay? And that means it's fair. Nature is fair. Okay, so there was a big argument when this person had managed to hack the Ethereum network and steal $1 million and almost ruin the network. Do we all carry on and go, well, that's life? The lion found a way to hack so he can fly, and now the lion's going around killing all the sheep. But, good luck to the lion. So what? Or do we say, no. Bad actors, baddies shouldn't get away with stuff, and therefore, if you try and break our network, if you ruin it, it won't matter because we'll just start another one. We'll hard fork. So there was a genuine, real argument, and quite a philosophical debate, which is, which do you think? Do you think it shouldn't be tampered with, and it is what it is, and this is the world we live in, and that's it? Or should we decide that that person's a bad person, and therefore this is the way we're going to do it, and they don't get the money? because you have to be very careful. You might say, well, it's obvious. You know, the bad guy does the hack, we fork. Yeah, but who decides? And at what level? Do we fork every time somebody steals somebody's wallet with 1 Ethereum in it? Okay, so somebody's stolen $2,000 worth of Ethereum today. We're all going to hard fork and the cost and everything else that goes with it. Yeah, but it's going to cost me more in resorting and in stopping mining for a minute while I update, more than that person lost. So who's going to compensate me? And you go into a massive rabbit hole of this. So Ethereum Classic is a non-fork. So Ethereum is a fork now, and the original Ethereum, Ethereum Classic, and this happened exactly what could happen to Bitcoin. So anyone tells you it's impossible, 51% attack's impossible, just tell them Ethereum Classic 2016, Google it. Almost all Bitcoin mined before 2010 is vulnerable to quantum computing, a storage attack. Okay, so it has to be fair to Bitcoin through an update, and they happen all the time, they have to, like I said, quantum computing is coming. Now, quantum computers are incredibly good at a very few things and quite simple tasks. Like, for example, guessing answers. So they can concentrate on one thing and do it incredibly well. Think of them as like a sprinter that can't read, write, throw the shot put, do anything else. All he can do is sprint, but he's incredible at it. The best the world has ever seen. That's what quantum computers currently are. Now, the problem with, I'm going to do another video, by the way, about your private and public keys, because I was talking to a really good friend of mine who knows stuff about crypto and completely misunderstood the way private and public keys work. So if you haven't subscribed, chance me to plug my channel, please hit that notification bell, hit the subscribe, and if you've always wanted to know in a really simple way to understand how public and private crypto keys work and why it's important, why you should know that if you've got any money at all or you plan to invest in crypto, hit the subscribe and you'll be notified when your video is ready. I'm not going to get into it, but just there's a key here and a key here. This one's private, and if you get it, you can steal my cryptocurrency, okay? By looking at this key, you can tell, not at the moment, but with quantum computing, you will be able to tell what this key looks like. At the moment, you can't tell. Even though they're related, seeing this one, it's like me saying there's two words that are correlated to each other, bread and jam. But you're from a culture that doesn't even know what jam is. So it doesn't matter that I show you this is jam because you don't know that my private key is bread. With a quantum computer, it tells you, yeah, if that's jam, that must be bread. That's basically it. Now, any Bitcoin mined before 2010 being stored anywhere, doesn't matter which wallet, is vulnerable to quantum computing attacks. It's about 4 million Bitcoins. There's 21 million Bitcoins in total supply, 4 million of which are going to be stolen. That's unfair. 2 million of which, let's say, are going to be stolen. But you could buy a Bitcoin and you don't know, you won't check when it was mined. Why would you? So again, Michael's on Twitter saying this is the safest thing in the world. Why wouldn't you say it's the safest thing in the world, but check when the Bitcoin that you mine in your wallet, when it was mined, because if it was pre-2010, there's a very good chance that it's vulnerable to a quantum computer attack, which will be happening shortly. So, transit attack. A team of researchers at Sussex University have only just recently published a study, well, it was in January 2022, that found a quantum computer with 1.9 billion qubit capacity could break Bitcoin within 10 minutes. So basically what that's saying is it can hack Bitcoin in transit within 10 minutes if it had 1.9 billion qubits of power. Okay, so 1.9 billion is the goal. IBM at the moment have a superconducting quant computer that is a 127 qubit processor. So we're currently at 127, and this study says that we need to get to 1.9 billion. You may think, well, they're a long, long way. But don't forget, it's taken 3,000, 4,000 years for quantum computing to become a thing, and then we get to 127 bits in a year, and then we get to 1 million bits in 6 months, then we get to 100 million bits in 3 months. You know, in my lifetime, we've gone from computers with a lot less than 1 gigabyte of memory, and now my iPhone's got 0.5 terabyte of memory. That was unimaginable when I started with computers with my Commodore 64. So very, very quickly, I think we are going to get to this kind of computing power with 1.9 billion qubit capacity. Once that happens, any Bitcoin as it currently sits, any Bitcoin in transit could be hacked under 10 minutes. This is another thing, just a side note. Michael isn't the only one. So there's a guy called Miko Matsura, and he's of Crypto Capital, which is a huge VC firm, a venture capital firm that invests in cryptocurrency and cryptographic technology in San Francisco. And when he was asked about this study, he said, "Oh, it's okay, we'll just fork, we'll just hard fork." Two things. One, that doesn't really solve the problem. And every time it's hacked, we're just going to hard fork. One, that doesn't really solve the problem. And two, what happens to the people who don't hard fork, who get left behind? Or what happens to the people who only have one Bitcoin? It's their life savings. And Michael's right, and Bitcoin goes to $1 million. And you put all your life's work into this one Bitcoin. Or you quit your job because of the value of your Bitcoin, and it's in transit and gets stolen. It was too late. Hard fork, and then you've lost your Bitcoin. Hard forks are only really any good for hacks that happen where more cryptocurrency is created or more cryptocurrency is stolen. Like with Ethereum, somebody stole money from somebody else and everybody wanted to, or a lot of people voted to hard fork. So I hope this video has been useful, if for nothing else than just you doing your due diligence in Bitcoin. I'm willing to bet that most people watching the video had absolutely no idea at least one or two of these points, and I'm equally sure that Michael Saylor knows some of these. I mean, the first couple, I mean, with the Meteor thing, I mean, that's just common sense. So I guess all I'm trying to say is, look, if you said to me, Max, so what are we going to do? Are we not going to buy Bitcoin, or are we going to buy Bitcoin? If it was up to me, I would keep some money in fiat, okay? Rainy day money, just in case, you never know. And if there is a massive recession in a minute, then guess what? Stuff gets cheaper, meaning money's worth more. I've done a video about the money supply myth. If you haven't watched that one, you have to watch it, because there's a very, very good chance that the next recession is going to be deflationary, which means things get cheaper, i.e. it's better having money, because money buys more stuff, more Bitcoin, more gold, more silver, more labor. People work for cheaper. They work for less because there's less jobs about, okay? So money becomes worth more money, so it's always good to have some cash. There's a lot of people I respect who believe that it's going to be a deflationary recession rather than an inflationary one where money becomes worthless. Because yes, people have been pumping and pumping money, but most money is just on a computer. It's called the credit crunch because all the credit dries up. Money supply myth, I'll put a link in the description below. Is it okay to own Bitcoin? Yes, it absolutely is okay to own Bitcoin. And in fact, I don't own any, but I think, you know, if you want to own some, go nuts. I think good luck to you. And I hope it goes to $100 million of Bitcoin. I really do. And good luck to anybody who owns it. But own it, understanding the risks. And this is not coming from somebody who has a tinfoil hat. This is not coming from your institutional bank telling you that all cryptocurrency is a scam. This is me saying, look, educate yourself, understand. Bitcoin is not unbreakable. It is not unhackable, as I've clearly demonstrated. And I think it's such a shame that some really, really intelligent, wealthy, successful people are on the internet and TV and saying things about cryptocurrencies that simply aren't true. And they're saying it to a lot of people who can't afford to make that mistake. It's okay for Michael. If you've got $1.5 billion, you can have 500 million crypto in Bitcoin go to zero, and you're still driving a Lambo to work. And good luck to you. But that isn't the same for somebody who is on $20,000 a year and is going without big time to put $5,000, a quarter of their paycheck a year, away in Bitcoin, because Michael keeps telling them it's the only safe bet, when that clearly isn't true. Just if the only thing on this board was this, it should make you question putting all of your life savings into Bitcoin. If this guy hadn't have caught this, we wouldn't be talking about Bitcoin today, because it wouldn't exist. As always, thanks ever so much for watching. I hope you found this video informative. If you have, please give it a like and try and tweet it at Michael. As I said, maybe I'd love to have this debate with him. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.